I never imagined that in my wildest, craziest thoughts that I would ever live to see Raila Amolo Odinga going through a very serious political crisis. Raila Odinga at a place he has never ever been to in his very long, illustrious political career. And the very latest is that Raila Odinga has made a very major about turn about dialogue with the Ruto regime. You will remember that Raila Odinga emerged with Ruto at his side and President Ruto's body language during this classic Meet the Press event was just more than interesting. Anyway, you'll remember that Raila emerged and told us that he's going into dialogue. Indeed, they have already discussed with Ruto at length, and that they were going into dialogue, and details would be announced shortly. And then, of course, you remember what happened after that. The Gen Zs went berserk, and legendary, patriotic Raila very suddenly found himself in a very unfamiliar situation and position. The backlash was unprecedented, not only from the Gen Zs, but from Raila Odinga's own supporters. And you'll remember, shortly after that, Raila made an appearance at Kware, where the bodies were found. And he said something to the effect, hawa watu wamemwaga damu nyingi sana, no dialogue. But then a few days later, it was reported that he was crafting his side of the cabinet. It was clear that what was looming was a government of national unity, grand coalition government, whatever you want to call it. A government bringing to the table the opposition and the government in one cabinet. And then, on the eve of this full cabinet being announced by President Ruto, Raila Odinga had this meeting with Ruto, according to my information, and he withdrew the names on his side of the cabinet. And so Ruto announced only 11, instead of 21 or 22. And now the very latest is that Raila came out yesterday and gave his conditions for dialogue. Compensation by the government to all those who lost their lives during the protests, at least to their families. Immediate release of all those Kenyans being held behind bars for no other offense but participating in the constitutionally recognized protests. Release of all those many Kenyans who have been abducted by the government, amongst other demands. Now, I have a simple question to ask you. Do you think the Ruto regime will come anywhere near meeting these demands? Do you think they're going to do that? Now, most Kenyans believe that the answer to that question is no, especially based on the remarks of Ruto this weekend about the protests. He made it very clear that the government is going to crush them. Enough is enough. So where does that leave us? Well, I don't want to speculate. Let us wait and see what happens. But for today, let us focus on the political future of Raila Amolo Odinga. And of course the question is, this sudden about turn by Raila, is it going to save his political career? Will things go back to normal? Will the situation go back to what it was before? where Raila had massive support across the country. Raila akisema twende left, tunaenda left. Raila akisema twende right, tunaenda right. Remember that? Are we going to return to that situation? Well, in my humble opinion, I don't think so. Hiyo imeenda, na imeenda kabisa, never to return. I still believe that Raila Odinga can still play a major role in taking Kenya forward. Yeah. Like these demands that he has put on the table for any dialogue to proceed is a good start. However, this role in the future of Kenya, I am afraid, in my opinion, is going to be very limited. Because things kwa ground zime change. And the Kenyans now at the forefront are the Gen Zs and the Gen Z movement and the Gen Z revolution. Those are the ones who are leading the way, for better or for worse, into the future of the country called Kenya. And one very admirable thing about these youngsters is that they want nothing else but a complete draining of the swamp. They want complete change in Kenya. What we are talking about here is brand new politics in Kenya. And it is the kind of politics that any Kenyan would love. Tribeless. Since independence, politicians have used tribe to divide us. It is super fascinating that over the weekend, and indeed over the last few days, President Ruto has spent all his time in public appearances in his native Rift Valley, which is really nothing new for anybody who understands the history of Kenyan politics. In 1969, in a controversial election for Nairobi constituency, Mwai Kibaki lost his parliamentary seat to a woman candidate. And what happened next is that he was rigged back in to parliament. And the voters on the ground made noise. And they said they would not forget. And they said they would wait for him in the next general elections of 1974. But they did not see Kibaki again. Kibaki retreated to his native constituency of Othaya, where he of course got elected without even breaking into a sweat. And for the rest of his political career, Kibaki was the member of parliament for Othaya. That has been the game in Kenyan politics. Kikiumana, you run back to your tribe. And then you incite your tribe against those who gave you problems. It has always been like that. And I can give you many, countless examples from the past. However, the Gen Zs are telling us tribalism in Kenyan politics, kwisha maneno. That is what they're telling us. And that is music to the ears of anybody who loves this country called Kenya. It is worth noting that another Kenyan called Raila Amolo Odinga has never, ever run back to his tribe. Indeed, up to the end of his political career, Raila was the legislator for Nairobi Cosmopolitan Constituency, which had different tribes as voters. Still, in this new Kenya that is being birthed, it will be very difficult for Raila to regain a position anywhere near the top. Yeah, that appears to be the sad truth. You know, we used to have a politician called Martin Shikuku, the very original People's Watchman, who suffered a lot in his fight for a better Kenya. But towards the tail end of his career, something happened. Yeah. Something changed. Very unfortunately so. Maybe Bwana Shikuku was tired of being poor, was tired of struggling, and he decided to abandon his lifelong campaign for a better Kenya. He decided to abandon it for money. Well, things were never the same for Bwana Martin Shikuku. He lost his popularity. He tried everything. He tried very hard to regain his parliamentary seat of Butere. That is what it was called in those days. But he never succeeded. Up until his passing on in the year 2012. Folks, how you finish your race in this world is the most important thing. It can very easily completely destroy your work of many, many decades. It can very easily destroy your very admirable legacy. That is just life. And we are supposed to learn all the time. As long as we are on this planet, we are supposed to learn every minute, every day. And even more important, to apply those life lessons to our own lives. It is critically important, I am afraid. I want to continue thanking from the bottom of my heart all those of you who are participating in this Kumekucha Chris season of gifting and supporting the work I do. You can see the details on your screen of what you have to do if you want to participate. And actually you do not have much time because we are now coming to the end of this season. And so I am afraid you will have to make your move soon. Asanteni sana in advance, and God bless. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.